At Christmas dinner, my rich grandpa handed each of us a check. My parents laughed. It's just for show, a fake check again. I smiled and tucked mine away. The next morning, the bank called. Only one check had cleared. Grandpa just said, "Good. Now I know who's real." The Christmas dinner felt heavy even before it began, the air thick with the scent of pine and roasted duck, masking the underlying tension that always simmered in my parents' perfect house. My mother, Denise, had orchestrated it for weeks, every detail curated for display. The long, polished darkwood table, gleaming under the chandelier, was set with her finest china, gold leaf shimmering, crystal glasses catching the candlelight, casting ephemeral rainbows on the pristine white walls. The centerpiece, a mountain of pine boughs and silver balls, was so grandiose I could barely see my father across from me. This wasn't a family gathering. It was a performance, and I, Samantha Reed, had my usual role, the quiet daughter. My mother, resplendent in a red silk dress, worried aloud about the duck. "It's fine, Denise," my father, Charles, mumbled, his attention fixed on his phone beneath the table, no doubt tracking stock fluctuations. "I just want everything to be perfect for your father," she insisted, her smile a brittle line. Grandpa Walter, small in the imposing high-back chair at the head of the table, wore an old but clean, dark green wool sweater. I saw my mother's gaze linger on it, a silent judgment that it was utterly inappropriate for her impeccable tableau. I, in my simple black dress, just wanted to be invisible, counting the minutes until I could retreat to my small, quiet apartment. The conversation revolved, as it always did, around my parents, their recent trip to Aspen, their plans to buy a small place there, an investment, as my mother declared with her high, fake laugh. Grandpa just nodded, taking a slow bite of his untouched duck, his eyes tired. My father, Charles, puffed out his chest, expounding on the market's strength. I watched Grandpa. He was silent, observing, taking everything in. After the dessert, a confection adorned with chocolate and gold flakes, a sudden, soft clearing of Grandpa's throat resonated like a drum in the hushed room. "I have something for you," he announced, pulling 3 plain white business-sized envelopes from his pocket. He slid one to my father, one to my mother, and one down the table to me. "A little Christmas gift for each of you," he said, his voice quiet. My parents exchanged a look, then a practiced laugh rippled between them. My mother's tinkling party laugh filled the air. "Oh, Dad," she trilled, picking up her envelope, not bothering to open it. "You're still playing Santa, huh? So cute. What is it this year?" "A check for $1 million I love yous." My father chuckled, smirking as he picked up his own, tapping it against the table. "The man loves his jokes," he said, glancing at me. "Just play along, Sam. He loves it." He didn't open his either, setting it beside his wine glass as if it were a discarded napkin. I didn't laugh. My gaze met Grandpa's. His eyes, I remember them vividly, held no twinkle of humor, no joy. They were profoundly, deeply sad. He looked exhausted. He watched my mother's casual mockery, my father's dismissive gesture, then his eyes found mine. I picked up my envelope. "Thank you, Grandpa," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He held my gaze, and for just a second, he gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. Before he looked away, he murmured something so softly my parents couldn't possibly hear. "Keep it safe." A strange, tight flip occurred in my chest. Keep it safe, what did that mean? I clutched the envelope in my lap. It felt heavy, important. My mother had already forgotten hers, leaving it on the sideboard next to a stack of dirty dessert plates as she launched into plans for a New Year's Eve party. My dad had tucked his into his jacket pocket, a casual dismissal. The joke for them was over. The performance continued. I, however, slipped my envelope into my coat pocket, my fingers wrapping around it, a tremor of an unknown future running through me. I didn't understand, not fully, but I knew, deep in my bones, that something vital had just cracked. Sitting at that polished table, I felt the foundation give way. When I left, Grandpa's hug was tighter than usual, a lingering embrace. "Drive careful, Sam," he said, his voice muffled in my hair. "I will, Grandpa. I love you." "I love you too, child," he whispered back. "You're a good girl. You're real." My parents waved from their impeccably lit doorway, their voices calling Merry Christmas as they already began closing the door, moving on. I sat in my cold car, clutching that envelope. It didn't feel like a joke. The drive back to my Portland apartment was quiet, Christmas lights blurring past. "Keep it safe," his words echoed. "So cute." My mother's brittle laugh. "The man loves his jokes," my father's smirk. A cold, heavy anger began to settle in my stomach. They hadn't even opened them. They had laughed in his face at his gift. I practically ran up the stairs of my building, eager for the sanctuary of my own space. Inside, my apartment was messy, warm, and real. I turned on a small lamp, shedding my coat onto my worn sofa. My hands shook as I made tea. I sat on the floor, the envelope now on my coffee table, my name, Samantha Reed, written in Grandpa's strong, familiar hand. Part of me was afraid to open it. What if it was a joke? A novelty check for 1,000,000 hugs? What if it was real? I picked it up, sliding my finger carefully under the flap. Inside was a cashier's check from his personal bank. My breath hitched. Paid to the order of Samantha Reed. And the number, $100,000. I read it again, the zeros blurring. Walter Reed. It was real. I sat there, staring, a crushing weight settling over me. I wasn't happy. I wasn't excited. This wasn't just a gift. It was a statement, a test. And my parents had failed. He had given them the same chance, and they had laughed, tossed it aside like trash. He knew. He knew they would. And he had given me one, two, and I had simply said thank you. It wasn't a test of me. It was a test of them, and he was simply showing me the results. A hot wave of respect for my grandfather, sharp enough to hurt, washed over me. He was smarter, stronger than all of them, and a deep, cold sadness for my parents. So blind, so lost in their world of white carpets and potential that they couldn't see anything real. What to do with it? Cashing it felt wrong. This wasn't about money. I walked to my desk, to the small, dark wooden box I'd built with Grandpa. It smelled of cedar and old paper. Inside, my true treasures, a photo of us covered in sawdust, a letter from my best friend Zoe, a pressed flower from a grateful client. Things that mattered. I folded the check once, placing it on top of the photo. It felt right. It was safe. It was a symbol of respect, proof that he saw me. I didn't sleep. What should I do? A new, ugly thought crept in. Asterisk, what if my parents were right? What if it was a game, and this was the real test? Asterisk, if I cashed it immediately, was I greedy? If I didn't, was I disrespecting his gift? A fool? It wasn't about the money. It was about the truth. I had to know. I told myself I wasn't cashing it, just checking. My hands shook as I opened my banking app. I took the check from the box, feeling a strange betrayal. Mobile deposit. The picture blurred. Again. Front, back. The app spun. Deposit submitted for $100,000. I felt sick. I put the check back in a wooden box, closing the lid. I felt small, like I had cheapened this profound symbol. Like my parents. The next few hours were torture. Every phone buzz made me jump. I waited for the deposit failed email, the insufficient funds notice, the just kidding text from Grandpa. I waited for a sign. The silence was deafening. I couldn't take it anymore. I refreshed the banking app. My heart seized. The pending status was gone. Under completed transactions. And my account balance, it now had 5 zeros. It was real. The words from the outline, "Your deposit cleared," echoed, but the numbers on the screen were undeniable. It was a mountain that had just landed in my living room. My hand shook so hard I dropped my phone. If my check was real, their checks were real too. And they had laughed. Oh God. My phone rang. Mom, my blood ran cold. This was it. I let it ring twice, 3 times, then picked up, a tiny whisper of hello. Samantha, why didn't you pick up? Her voice was high, tight, sharp. I was in the bathroom, Mom. She launched into a torrent. Your father and I were just cleaning up from Christmas. And I found that envelope. We thought, oh, what the heck? Let's see what the joke is. Her voice trembled, trying to sound casual, failing. So I called the bank. The manager said the checks were stopped. Yesterday morning. He humiliated us, Samantha. How could he? I remained silent. Did you talk to your grandfather today? She demanded, her voice suddenly cold, suspicious. No, don't lie to me, Samantha. I'm not lying, Mom. A cold silence stretched. Then, dangerously low, the bank manager said one check did go through. A large one. This morning. Ours were stopped, but yours went through. My throat closed. He's playing favorites again, she shrieked. The sound was raw, ugly jealousy, straight from my childhood. After everything we do for him, we host him. We take care of him. We manage his life. And you show up twice a year, and he gives you— What did he give you, Samantha? Mom, this is ridiculous, she snapped. I'm putting your father on. I heard fumbling, my dad's angry, muffled voice. Just give me the phone, Denise. Samantha, he barked. Hi, Dad. Don't hi, Dad me. Your mother is hysterical. You should have told us. Told you what? I whispered. That you knew. That you knew the check was real. You went behind our backs. You cashed it, didn't you? You scurried off to the bank first thing in the morning like a little thief. I didn't. His voice shifted, trying to sound reasonable, paternal. He's old, Sam. He's not thinking clearly. He doesn't know what he's doing. I thought of Grandpa's clear, sad, steady eyes. He's playing games, and you fell for it. And you've created a huge problem for this family. I didn't create anything, I said, my voice suddenly clear and cold. Listen to me, Samantha. That money is not yours. It's family money. Your grandfather is confused. You need to come here, and we're going to sort this out. We will put the money into a joint account. We will manage it for you. It's the only fair thing to do. You don't understand finances. You just waste it on your hobby. It's not a hobby, I countered. This is not up for debate, he shouted. You have put this family in a terrible position. You should have told us. You laughed at it, I said, the words finally tumbling out. You didn't even open it. You called it a joke. A long, terrible silence. I had spoken the truth, the one thing they couldn't argue with. My father's voice, when it returned, was flat and cold. He's an old, senile man, Samantha, and you are a very, very foolish girl. He hung up. I sat there, the dial tone buzzing, my mind reeling. Asterisk, he's old. He doesn't know what he's doing. Asterisk, I looked at the wooden box on my desk, the one I had built with him. Asterisk, money doesn't test people. Gratitude does. Asterisk, my parents were wrong. With sudden, terrible clarity, I knew my grandfather knew exactly what he was doing. The next 2 days were an isolating blur. My phone ignored pulse with their calls and texts, pleading then angry. You are tearing this family apart, me. Not their greed, not their laughter, but me. I turned it off. The $100,000 sat in my account like a bomb. I couldn't touch it. I couldn't work. I had never felt more alone. On the second day, I couldn't take it anymore. I turned my phone on, ignoring the barrage of messages, and called the only person I could. Zoe Harper, my best friend. Sam, oh my God, are you alive? I was about to call the police, she exclaimed, her voice loud, funny, unafraid. I'm not okay, Zoe, I whispered, tears finally blurring my vision. Where are you? I'm coming over. No, I need to get out of here. Can I meet you? We met at our favorite diner, old and smelling of coffee and bacon. I sat in a booth, my hands wrapped around a hot mug of tea. Zoe slid in across from me, her sharp, dark eyes scanning my face. Okay, she said, cutting straight to it. You look like hell. Start from the top. What did they do? I told her everything. The dinner, their laughter, Grandpa's sad eyes, his words, keep it safe. She listened, her face growing tighter. Then, the deposit, the number. Zoe's eyes widened. $100,000, Sam. Sure, I hissed. Holy, she whispered. Then the phone calls, my mother's mortification, the stopped checks, my father's foolish girl. When I finished, tears rolled down my face, quiet and tired. Zoe was silent, staring into her coffee cup. Zoe, don't. I'm going to kill them, she growled, her face furious. I'm a lawyer. I can find a way to make it legal. You are tearing this family apart. They're not a family, Sam. They are a corporation, and you just messed with their bottom line. It's not funny, Zoe. I'm not laughing. I am furious. They've been treating you like this your entire life, like you're the broken, weird one just because you're decent. And now your grandpa finally calls them on it. He finally shows you what you're worth, and they call you a thief for being grateful. I don't know what to do, I whispered, I'm so scared. Scared of what? Them, Sam? They can't do anything. It's your name on the check. It's in your account. It's your money. Game over. It's not about the money, I said a little too loud. It's him. It's Grandpa. What did I just do? Did I just get him in trouble? Is he okay? What if my dad is right? What if he's senile? Zoe's face softened. She reached across the table, grabbing my hand. Her grip was warm and strong. Sam, look at me. Your grandfather is a genius. He is the smartest one in this whole mess. He's not old and confused. He's strategic. He knew exactly what they would do. He's been watching them. He's been watching you. This wasn't a gift of money, Sam. It was a gift of truth. I took a shaky breath. So what do I do now? Nothing, she said. You live your life. You pay off your loans. You rent that studio you've been dreaming about. You use it. That's the best thank you can give him. And you block your parents' numbers. I can't do that. Okay, fine, she sighed. Baby steps. Just wait. Wait for the next move. I drove home feeling not better, but stronger. Zoe had put steel in my spine. Asterisk, he's a genius. It was a gift of truth. Asterisk, I checked my mailbox. There was a thick, heavy, cream-colored card, not a business envelope. My name, Samantha, in Grandpa's strong, clear, old-fashioned script. My heart leaped into my throat. This was it. I went upstairs, keys shaking, and sat on my sofa. I opened it. No letter, no explanation. Just a single card. Dinner Saturday, 7 p.m. Below, the address of his house. Not my parents. His. This was the next move. This was the showdown. I called Zoe. He invited me to dinner. I said Saturday. Okay, she replied cautiously. Just you? I think so. It just has the time and place. So what? Zoe asked, her voice sharpening, lawyer-like. You think he's about to confront them? Is he going to have them there? Is this an ambush? I looked at the simple, elegant card. Dinner, Saturday, 7:00 p.m. I thought about the stopped checks, the $100,000 in my account, the decades of watching, listening, testing. A calm, cold, sad feeling settled over me. No, Zoe, I said quietly, staring at the card. I don't think he's about to confront them. Then what? I think he already did. I think the test is over. This is him announcing the results. The drive to Grandpa's house on Saturday night was the loneliest of my life. My little car felt small on the wide, dark roads leading to his neighborhood. The old, original wealthy part of town, unlike my parents' new, flashy enclave. His house, a 30-year-old brick structure, solid and timeless, was hidden by ancient oak trees. I parked behind a row of much more expensive cars, recognizing my parents' silver Mercedes. My stomach plummeted. They were here. This wasn't just announcing results. It was an execution, and I didn't know if I was the guest of honor or the main course. My heart hammered as I walked to the front door. I almost turned back, almost fled to Portland, but I thought of Grandpa, his sad eyes, his quiet plea. Keep it safe. I had to see this through. Maria, his housekeeper for as long as I could remember, opened the door, her smile warm and genuine. Samantha, he is waiting for you in the study. Are my parents here? I whispered. Maria's smile faded. They're in the dining room, she said, her tone confirming everything. Grandpa's house was warm, unlike my parents' stark white walls and harsh lights. It smelled of old books, wood polish, and faint pipe tobacco. It smelled like home. Maria opened the study doors. Grandpa Walter sat behind his huge, dark desk, not working, just waiting. Hello, Samantha, he said calmly. Grandpa. I breathed, wanted to run to him, to cry, to ask a million questions. I just stood there. You look nervous, he observed. I am. Don't be, he said. You've done nothing wrong. Sit down. I sank into the big leather chair. He looked at me, his eyes clear and sharp. You got my invitation? I nodded. They're here, aren't they? Yes, he said. They are. Now, before we go in there, I want you to know something. What happens in that room tonight has nothing to do with you. It is not your fault. It is not your problem. This is between me and them. It has been for 30 years. Your only job tonight is to be quiet and to be real. Can you do that? Be real. Just be yourself, Sam. That's all you've ever been. It's all I've ever asked. He stood, old but straight, powerful. He wore a dark suit, not his usual sweater. Let's go to dinner. He placed a hand on my back, guiding me out. Walking into the dining room felt like stepping into a bad dream. My parents stood by the fireplace, stiff and silent. My mother's red-rimmed eyes were wide, her smile a taut, unnatural line. My father stared into the unlit hearth, his face blotchy red with anger. They both turned as we entered. My mother's smile wobbled. "Samantha, you came. Dad, this is a surprise." "Is it?" Grandpa said, his voice calm. He walked to the head of the table. "Please sit." My parents sat on one side. I sat alone on the other. Grandpa remained standing, not with food, but with a thin beige legal folder. He placed it on the table. The soft thud echoed in the silence. "You'll each find your name on these papers," he said, looking at my parents, not the folder. My mother's voice cracked. She burst into angry, frustrated tears. "You humiliated us, Dad. You stopped our checks. You made us look like fools after all we've done for you." "What have you done for me, Denise?" Grandpa asked, his quiet, calm voice cutting through her sobs like a knife. She stopped, speechless. "I did stop the checks," he confirmed, nodding. "I did. For 30 years, I have given you everything. A house, cars, a job you don't do. An allowance for a woman your age. I have given, and you have taken. And you have not once, said thank you and meant it." "That's not true," my father interjected, finding his voice. "At Christmas," Grandpa continued, ignoring him, "I gave you a final gift, a simple test. I gave you the same thing I gave Samantha." My parents both looked at me, my mother's gaze pure poison. "I gave you a check, a real one, a gift. And you laughed. You laughed at me. You threw it on the sideboard with the garbage. You rolled your eyes, Denise. You smirked, Charles. You called me a joke." His voice remained terrifyingly calm, stating facts, not yelling. "You laughed at a gift, so you laughed at me." "It was a test," my father shouted, slamming his fist on the table, crystal rattling. "A sick, twisted old man's game. Life is a test, Charles," Grandpa said. "You failed." "And her," my father yelled, pointing at me, a vein throbbing in his forehead. "You rewarded her for what? For doing nothing. For being a failure. For wasting her potential. She's done nothing." The room fell silent. I felt all their eyes on me, shrinking me to my 12-year-old self in an itchy red sweater. I looked at my grandfather. He was still looking at my dad. "She did everything," Grandpa said, his voice so quiet, so full of power, it nearly brought me to tears. "She did everything. She listened. When I spoke, she listened. When I taught her, she learned. She works. She builds. She respects herself. She said, 'Thank you' for a gift she didn't even know was real." He turned his clear, steady eyes on me. She didn't laugh. The silence that followed was sacred. It was the sound of a 30-year lie finally dying, the sound of truth filling a room. My father's face was white. My mother was utterly silent, her mouth agape. They had nothing left to say. He had taken all their words away. Grandpa Walter did not move. He stood at the head of his table, a king in his own home. My father's fist was still on the table, my mother's face pale and blotchy. Grandpa picked up the thin beige folder. He opened it. He slid it across the polished wood. It stopped right in front of me. "This is yours, Samantha," he said. My hands lay in my lap, afraid to touch it. "What is that?" My father leaned forward, squinting. "What is this?" "More games." I put my hands on the folder, opening it. It wasn't a check. It was paper after paper of legal documents. My eyes scanned, not understanding all of it. Asterisk last will and testament of Walter Reed. Durable power of attorney. Transfer of deed. Articles of incorporation for Reed Construction. Asterisk, and on every page, in the places for executive, beneficiary, or trustee, I saw my name. Samantha Reed. My breath left my body. This wasn't $100,000. This was everything. The company, the house, the trust. "What is that?" my mother whispered, pale and sick. "What is that, Samantha?" she asked again, her voice rising. I couldn't speak. I just looked at my grandfather. "It's my estate, Denise," Grandpa said calmly. "It's my legacy. You can't do that," my mother stammered. "You can't. Charles is your son. He's the vice president. It's his." "Charles has a title," Grandpa said. He does not have the job. He has never done the job. He has a salary, which I have paid. You can't do this, my father roared, standing up, his chair scraping violently. I'm your son. She's a child. She doesn't know anything. She knows how to work, Grandpa said. She knows how to listen. She knows how to build. This is illegal, my father yelled. You're old. You're senile. She tricked you. She manipulated you. He looked around, desperate for someone to agree. You're not well, Dad. You're sick. You need help. We're going to get you help, my mother chimed in, catching on. Yes, Dad. You're not thinking clearly. This test, it's not normal. We're worried about you. They were trying to strip him of his power, to label him crazy. I watched, horrified, as they tried to turn the tables. Grandpa watched them, letting my father rant, letting my mother cry her fake, worried tears. He let the silence stretch after they had exhausted all their ugly, desperate words. My father was breathing hard, my mother dabbing her eyes, a mask of concern. Grandpa waited. Then he spoke, his voice not that of a senile old man, but of the man who built a company from a single truck. It was steel. I'm not sick, Charles. I'm not confused, Denise. I have never seen more clearly in my entire life. He looked at them both. I already have, he said. My mother looked confused. Have? Have what? You said I can't do this, Grandpa explained. I'm telling you, I already have. The papers are signed. They are filed. My lawyer, Mr. Miller, has the originals. These are your copies. It is done. My father's face collapsed. The anger, the bluster died. He looked old, weak, like an empty room. He sank back in his chair. He opened his mouth, a little sound escaping, but Grandpa's voice cut through the air, not loud, but utterly final. He looked at his son. He looked at his daughter-in-law. Now I know who's real. That was it. 5 words. But it was the end. It ended everything false in that room. It ended 30 years of lies, the perfect image, the hard work. It ended them. My mother stood, her movement stiff, robot-like. She picked up her purse. She didn't look at me, didn't look at Grandpa. She just walked out. My father sat for another second, his eyes on the folder in front of me, then on his father. His gaze was full of a deep, cold, empty hate. Then he stood, straightened his suit jacket, and followed his wife out. We just sat there. The front door opened, then slammed shut, the sound echoing through the big, quiet, solid house. And then peace. We sat in the silence. I was still staring at the open folder. Executor, trustee, Samantha Reed. My hand was shaking. I was rich. I was in charge of everything. I looked at my grandfather. He was still standing, tired, old but free. He allowed a long, slow breath, as if he'd held it for 30 years. Well, he said, his voice soft now. I suppose Maria has kept dinner warm. He sat down, ringing the small bell by his plate. I just stared at him. Grandpa, I whispered, my voice broken. I can't what? He asked. I don't know how to do this. The company, the trust. I'm a designer. I paint walls. I don't know how to run a construction company. Maria came in with a cart, unfazed by my parents' absence, setting out roasted chicken, vegetables, warm bread. Grandpa looked at me, a real, warm smile gracing his lips. I taught you how to build a table, didn't I? You started with a pile of wood. You measured. You cut. You learned the joints. You learned the bones. It's the same thing, Sam. Just a bigger table. Keep a chicken on my plate. We'll hire people to do the parts you don't know. You just be the boss. You just be real. You'll be fine. You're the only one I trust to be. We ate dinner, just the two of us, at that long, polished table. We didn't talk about money, about my parents, or the folder, which I had closed and placed on the chair beside me. He asked about my work. Tell me about that project you were working on, he said, the one for the new family, the small apartment, the nursery. I told him how I'd built a crib with storage drawers, about the soft yellow paint that made the tiny room feel sunny and big. He listened, nodded. Smart, he said. Good bones. We talked about spring planting, rose bushes, colors. We talked as we always had. After coffee in the study, he walked me to the door. I'm scared, Grandpa. I confessed, my voice quiet. I know, he said, his heavy, warm hand on my shoulder. That's why I know you're the right one. The ones who aren't scared, they're the problem. He reached into his pocket and handed me a small folded piece of paper. Not a check, just a note. "Read this later," he said. He hugged me. "Drive safe, Sam." I drove home numb, floating. On my sofa, I opened the note. His handwriting. Asterisk, money changes hands every day. Respect only once. Asterisk, I cried. Finally, I cried. Not for my parents, not for the money. I cried for him, for his long, lonely life, watching his family turn into fakes. I cried because he saw me. A week later, I sat in a big, polished office, the sign on the door reading Miller, Grant and Associates. Grant Miller, a kind man with glasses, looked a little like my grandfather. "Your grandfather is a very, very smart man, Samantha," he said as I signed page after page. "He's put a lot of trust in you." "I know," I said, my hands steady. The numbers didn't matter. The money was just a tool, a result. The lesson mattered. I'm still a designer. I have a studio now, a nice one, where I hire other young designers and pay them well. I'm also the boss of reconstruction. I sit at a big table in a boardroom. I listen. I learn. I make decisions. It's just a bigger table. I never heard from my parents directly. Their lawyers contested the will, of course, claiming senility and undue influence. But Grandpa was smart. He documented his clear mind for years. Doctors' letters, videos. The case was thrown out. They lost. They lost everything because they had already lost. They thought the check was fake. But the only fake thing in that house that Christmas night was their love. I still drive past that first bank sometimes, the one where I made the deposit. I remember the shaking hands, the dread, and the call that changed everything. It wasn't the call from the bank telling me the money was real. It was the call from my father telling me I was a foolish girl. That was the moment. The moment I knew he was wrong. The moment I knew my grandfather was right. The moment I finally understood what I was worth. And that decency, quiet and simple and real, was, in the end, worth more than all the dollars in the world. It's a truth I live by now. Keep it safe.